You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Coronation Special. What would she do? Part 4. Harry's wife isn't going to the coronation. She said no, and I've explained elsewhere why she did that. But that doesn't mean that she's going to be a shrinking violet, even though she's been a coward in not attending. The fact is, her narcissism dealt with it that way in order to enable her to assert control over the situation. But the fact is, the coronation's going to keep popping up on her radar, perhaps on a daily basis, and her narcissism will need to deal with that. And as it gets ever closer, its impending arrival impacts heavily upon Harry's wife for reasons that I've explained in How Does It Affect Her? It's a direct threat to her control, and therefore her narcissism is going to have to do something to ensure that she nullifies that threat to control. And I'm explaining to you the range of manipulations that might be utilised by her. And the next potential manipulation that might be rolled out by her as a means of getting the prime aims and dealing with the threat that's posed by the coronation and all of the pomp and circumstances surrounding it is more triangulation, but this time not with relation to an event, but rather in relation to an object. I've explained in immediate part passim the nature of triangulation and how it's utilised. And if you haven't watched that video in part 2, then what have you been doing? Go back and watch it immediately. But it may well be the case that she makes an announcement in relation to an object so that it brings attention onto her, thus detracting from the coronation, although, of course, going up against such a momentous event is a little bit of a David and Goliath moment, but she'll still get spoken about, which is, of course, is what she wants to achieve. And it will mean that she will wrest some semblance of control, nullify the threat to control, and of course will receive fuel by virtue of people's responses. Of course, most likely there will be the collateral problem that will arise for her as a consequence of the nature of her style of narcissism. Namely, she's likely to be roundly criticised for the attention-seeking that she engages in. Naturally, her idiotic supporters will support her in that regard, but the larger majority will just go, pathetic, look at her, stamping her cloven hoof in an attempt to receive some attention. But what object might she look to triangulate people with? And the people would be, of course, the press, the media, people that would be watching the coronation, people across social media, and the royal family itself. What might she reveal by way of an object to try and get that attention? Well, it's been mooted for some time that she would engage in writing, that we would be treated to her memoirs. And it might be that either she will use the announcement of a further publication from Harry, because there's been work already gone into that in the pipeline, a sort of wah too, if you will, or quite possibly the announcement in relation to her own book, in order to draw attention onto her. If it's not that, it might be in relation to moving home, with some yet more boring speculation about her looking at properties elsewhere in order to cause people to respond to it. It's a possibility. It's unlikely to have the impact that she would desire, but nevertheless, that doesn't mean that it's going to stop her from necessarily doing it, because as many of you who've experienced narcissists will know, the narcissist will often engage in what can be seen as quite pathetic behaviour for the purposes of trying to get attention from other people. And just because you would look at it and think, gosh, that's ridiculous and pathetic, doesn't mean that that's going to stop a narcissist from doing so. So it might be that she makes an announcement in relation to a forthcoming publication of Harry's, or her own memoir talking about what it's going to cover. It might be that there is an announcement with regard to a new series of archetypes, a series 2. Perhaps she's been dealing with that while she's been keeping a lower profile as of late. But essentially, an object, be it a podcast, a book, or a new home, or perhaps something else altogether, will be the announcement that is used in terms of triangulation. What do you think she might do in this regard if she were to triangulate with an object? Do you think it might be the ones that I've selected? I'm also now going to provide for you further information about how the narcissist generally triangulates with an object to extend your understanding, and you can understand how that is also applied to Harry's wife. Object triangulation. Triangulation is a common manipulation that we use against our victims. We triangulate you with people, we triangulate you with events, and we triangulate you with objects. This is done for the purpose of achieving the prime aims from you, and ordinarily triangulation is focused on asserting control over you by causing you to feel envious or jealous because of our behaviour with regard to something else, or to feel grateful and admirable should we be triangulating you in a benign way. Triangulation is also done to draw fuel from you. When we triangulate you with an object, we lavish our time upon this object. We are preoccupied with it. We may comment about it repeatedly, even compare you to it in favourable or more usually unfavourable terms. The number of objects that we can triangulate with you are potentially limitless. A television, clothing, the computer, a house, our phone, and a very good object to use for the purpose of triangulation is the car. I love my cars. The one that I drive the most at the moment is beautiful, powerful, sleek and impressive, just like me, of course. The exterior is anthracite black, and the windows tinted black, which gives it a sinister appearance, which I suppose is rather apt. I enjoy driving, and especially since I'm an excellent and trained driver, my car is a fantastic instrument by which I am able to triangulate people. To begin with, I might spend an inordinate amount of time cleaning it, for example. I could, of course, go and get somebody else to do this for me. But, given that I know how much it irritates you when a glorious sunny afternoon you want to drive out somewhere for the day, and all I do is spend the afternoon on the drive washing, waxing and polishing my car, it makes you feel second best. It brings you under control. It causes you to provide fuel through your seething annoyance. The car is being chosen over you. You may come outside and remonstrate with me, which is all good fuel, challenge fuel of course, but it will only cause me to spend even longer cleaning the alloys before moving on to the interior. You will back down. You will stamp your foot and walk back into the house, thus indicating that I have control and you've just given me a lot of fuel. I might provoke an argument with you because you wanted to use the hoover, and you should know by now that only I'm allowed to hoover inside the house, but I've commandeered it for a lengthy period of time as I scrupulously chase after each speck of dust inside my car. I may engage in long conversations about its performance and how it's running. Invariably you find this excruciatingly boring, and when you are trying to tell me about something, I talk over you, referring to the car. I dominate the conversation by talking about it. The irritation that you express through your sighs and your eye-rolling amuses me no end. I'm a naturally brilliant driver, and have demonstrated this on days out on racetracks, as I have taken various high-performance vehicles out for a spin, leaving you stranded on the trackside, bored to tears, when you've been put in the sustained devaluation. The occasional temper tantrum that you throw when I tell you that we were going out for the day, only to arrive at one of the racetracks, enables me to demonstrate just how selfish you are by a healthy dose of projection, and that you've no consideration of the things that I like to do. However, it is when we are in the car together that my vehicle's potential as an instrument of manipulation and triangulating you with it is truly realised. I will drive aggressively, tailgating the car in front, flashing my lights to get that car to move aside, and gesticulating
at the incompetent buffoons of the audacity to be driving when I am. The reactions of the other drivers, from fear to anger, all provide me with fuel. But it is your plea for me to slow down as I hurtle along a country lane, or your scream as we screech to a halt behind a lorry, that really do it for me. You're under my control, you're providing fuel, and you're being triangulated for my car with the driving. The aggression in my driving provides me with an opportunity to demonstrate how superior I am on the roads and the motorways. My vehicle is better, faster, and more expensive than your scrap heap, so move aside right now. At the traffic lights, an admiring glance from another driver, especially if she's female, will please me no end, and is another form of triangulation. She's admiring me in the car, you're being triangulated with the car and her. Control is gained, fuel is obtained. I will purposefully drive at the same speed as this other vehicle, flashing my winning smile at the other driver, as she looks back, grinning whilst we drive alongside one another. A sideways glance to you sees that you're fuming. I drink in your fuel. Should someone not give way or cut me up, I may well chase them down, and do so until they stop, be it at home or their destination. If I deem that it is appropriate, I will emerge from my car and berate them at the traffic lights whilst they are stationary, possibly even smashing my fist on their window, and kicking their wing as they grip the steering wheel in terror. How dare they drive like that near me? I return to my car, power raging through my body, as the recipient of the fuel, and that I've been put in their place and control has been asserted over them. I return to find you sobbing with fear after I pursued this driver relentlessly. The driver's reaction and your reaction fuel me. I may use the car as a bolt hole, often sitting in it and listening to the cricket on the radio, or an interesting radio play as you knock on the window trying to get my attention. I give you a silent treatment, 2 manipulations in one, ignoring you whilst I sit there listening to the play, triangulating you with the car radio, and you stalk around the car fuming. I know you want to scratch it or dent it, but you know better than to do anything so stupid as that to my precious car. I may walk away from you and get in the car and drive off, leaving you stranded. This is a powerful way of letting you know that you're in the wrong. I park where I want and throw away the parking tickets or abuse the traffic wardens, accusing them of jealousy when they try to give me a ticket. I speed everywhere, as I am not to be delayed. It is my time and my journey that are important. I enjoy suddenly pulling over in the car and demanding that you pleasure me. You comply and lower your head as I grin at my power over you, as I select an appropriate piece of music and press down on the accelerator as we drive off. Such is my ability. I can drive at high speed even whilst you attend to me with your mouth. I truly am the king of the road. I will have you over the bonnet and then scold you for leaving handprints on the polished metal, giving me a wonderful opportunity to criticise you after a seemingly intimate act between us, therefore triangulating you again with the vehicle. Of course, when I have you splayed across the bonnet, skirt hitched up and hair scattered across it, I do not see you beneath me as I thrust them back. No. You and the vehicle have merged into one. We are merging together, 2 beautiful and powerful creatures that truly complement one another. Naturally, you are never allowed to drive my car. It's mine. All of my cars are mine, and only I am able to drive them, and I do so to frustrate you, anger you, and alarm you and terrify you when you are in the sustained devaluation. It is my black bombshell that is there to draw emotional reactions from you, to allow me to assert control over you and those around us, and to serve my need for fuel. Just like me, my car doesn't provide many miles to the gallon and needs frequent refuelling, but then anything of such quality always needs such a level of high maintenance, doesn't it?